This is Roundhouse Story. We're about to take you on a journey with us through the history of the Roundhouse. The Roundhouse is one of London's most iconic buildings. In its lifetime, it's had many identities. It's been the centre of many dreams that never came true, as well as a venue for historic concerts and theatre events. The Roundhouse has seen centuries of London's history, a history it will continue to shape.
The Roundhouse was built in 1846 to store and repair engines for the newly built railway. But in just 10 years, locomotive engines had become too big to be stored in the building and it became redundant.
In 1869, the wealthy Gilby brothers sought to expand their gin business and bought the Roundhouse to store their spirits. During the Second World War, Gilbys transported much of their stock to Bow, fearing the Roundhouse was an obvious target for bombing. But instead, Bow got bombed and the Roundhouse remained untouched. To this day, the surrounding streets in Chalk Farm still bear the Gilbys' name.
On October the 15th, 1966, after years of standing empty, something amazing happened at the Roundhouse. A relatively unknown band calling themselves Pink Floyd took to the stage and performed live for the all-night launch party of the International Times. This night marked the debut of Centre 42, an arts centre created by playwright Arnold Wesker to make the arts more accessible to the community. Centre 42 resided at the Roundhouse for 19 years, and in that time it saw the fledgling performances of some of the world's greatest artists. It saw the dawn of the punk movement, the Yardbirds' first gig under their new name of Led Zeppelin, the first London appearance of The Doors, and historic performances by the Ramones and the Rolling Stones.
Jimi Hendrix played there, The Doors played there, I was there for the Floyd, big oily light show, first acid trip, which I did because I wanted to.
It was also a focus for progressive and often controversial theatre, the best known example being O Calcutta, which provoked outrage in the press but continued to play to sell out crowds for 4 weeks. Despite its growing cultural importance, Centre 42 struggled to stay open, and in 1972, tired of the fight for funding, Wesker resigned as artistic director. Under the direction of Thelma Holt, Centre 42 fought on for another 11 years, but finally closed due to insufficient funds in 1983. For the third time in its history, the Roundhouse stood abandoned.
For 13 years, the Roundhouse stood at the centre of a hurricane of development proposals. The Royal Institute of British Architects, dance and theatre companies, the Environmental Awareness Trust and many others failed in their plans to obtain the Roundhouse for their uses. Until in 1996,
Toy maker Torquil Norman, whose company Bluebird Toys created Polly Pocket, bought the Roundhouse and began the process of converting it into a modern art space. Torquil's vision was to restore the Roundhouse as a performance space. The money raised from these performances was to fund his new venture, the Roundhouse Studios, a space where young people can create and learn from each other. Today, the Roundhouse continues to host and nurture artists from all over the world.
I think it brought character again to the area. This area was very dead from Chalk Farm up to the stables, and since this opened it has really reinvigorated the area.
There was always that thing through time, You see it in the papers about trying to get extra funding and up for sale, and about redevelopment, constantly fighting to try and keep the place as original and keep the name there. And thank goodness they did preserve it, because this is what it's like today, and it couldn't be better.
The Roundhouse Studios that helps kids, I think is a good idea. Anything that gives people a chance to like be creative and kind of guides people along the path of creativity and along the path of sort of like doing productive, positive stuff. I think that's definitely a good thing.
Yeah, they restored a building that needed restoring, and they're using it for the right reasons. So I'm personally, as a local, very happy to have it there.